100 songs in however long. I'll play guitar like fourty-sixth jaws of death from the choir. It's high time for another 100 songs in however long. Today we're looking at a song that I relatively recently started to really enjoy by a band that I have been mistaken about for most of my life. You see, I always thought the Talking Heads were about a Primus-level band, big enough that they could probably quit their day jobs and not have to worry about needing to return to them anytime soon, but too weird to ever become more popular than that. The Talking Heads are the Rolling Stones. They're one of the most popular alternative rock bands of all time, and I'm not sure how I was never aware of that. At any rate, they absolutely deserve the fame they have because they are really a remarkably insightful and creative band that has taught the world a lot about what popular music can do. On an unrelated note, at one point, I had an 84 F-150 that had a tape deck, and I made a goal of getting the entire Talking Heads catalog on cassette and listening to it in the truck. I would go on road trips and I would stop at thrift stores in every town. I only ever had 2 tapes. I still kind of want to do that. Something about the music of the Talking Heads just feels more fitting on cassette. As for the song, this is one that I never really thought much about until a few months ago when I listened to the words for the first time. Every so often in the world of popular music, a song comes along that has a dark and politically urgent message, but puts it to a fun, upbeat tune. And people notice the tune first and the message much later. 99 Red Balloons is a great example of this. Honestly, half of the top 40s hits from the 1980s are great examples of this. Life During Wartime, true to its title, is a song about the way the horrors of war cause people to reassess what is really important. It's hard to see the value in studying philosophy while our home and everything you've ever known is being blown to bits. Recently, I've been reading a lot of books and watching a lot of movies that deal with having to survive after losing everything. I've displayed some of them here on the dresser. Okay, I'm going to take a break here to do a book rex. So we have here Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. Powerful, powerful book. It is the last book that has made me cry. And granted, any book that involves a brother dying tends to have that effect, but still, amazing, vivid imagery. I don't read a lot of poetry, but this is certainly the best poetry I've read in however long. No Ordinary Assignment. I've been a huge fan of Jane Ferguson ever since I started watching the PBS NewsHour real religiously. This book really brought to life what war is like and how nuanced and strange it is and how people preserve their humanity even in the darkest of times. It's also a book that I read not long after getting fired, and Jane Ferguson is the same age as I am. She talks about restarting her life and being 40 and realizing she doesn't want to work as a war journalist anymore, and helped me realize that it's not too late for me to start over, which was huge. Crossed. Now, I feel like I'm already going to get some pushback on this. I realize that this one has been portrayed as being disturbing for the sake of being disturbing. And I'm not going to argue. Well, I actually am kind of going to argue against that. I felt like this really took a interesting and insightful look into what it means to have to come to terms with horrible things that you've done. And the protagonists in this do the most unspeakable things to other people and to each other. And they have to learn to forgive themselves and learn to find meaning in life and move on. And I think that this graphic novel does a much better job of critically thinking about what that means than most stories. I feel like often there's a side character who starts off as a bad guy and then kind of goes to the good guys and then does some sort of noble sacrifice where they get killed so that the main character can move on. And even though I'm having trouble thinking of examples offhand, I feel like that's been done to death. And Enemy at the Gates was like that. I don't know why that's not a movie that anyone's talked about, but that's the first example I came up with. Where was I going with this? Oh, this takes a refreshing look at the idea that sometimes people have to do horrible things or feel like they have to do horrible things and can move on from that. Am I saying that we should forgive the protagonists? No. But I am saying that this is, well, I wouldn't blame anyone for not wanting to read it. It has a really insightful message beyond just, let's be disturbing for the sake of being disturbing. Mouse, what can I say about this that hasn't already been said? Amazing, profoundly heartbreaking work that really brings to life the tragedy of the Holocaust while also recognizing that the people who survived the Holocaust are humans, warts and all. The people who are kids of those who survived the Holocaust are humans, warts and all. And exploring what that means and how do we figure out how to live our lives from that. Really amazing book that I'm not the first person to say I think everyone should read this book, but everyone should read this book. This is not a book. This is a DVD, but it's based on a book. This is Roots, of course. I'd never seen it, and recently, in 2024, a lot of the actors who were in this died, and it kind of made me feel like I should watch it. It's interesting to think about what this must have been like when it came out at first. I want to say the 70s, late 70s. Miniseries as a concept weren't really a thing like they are today, and yet this was a huge hit. And without being alive at that time, or at least knowing about this series at the time, I wonder, were these ideas that hadn't been talked about before? Was this an opening of allowing people to talk about what the slave trade meant and how it felt for the people who were involved with it? I don't really know the answer to that. I definitely saw a lot of the things that I talked about, or I had teachers talk to me about when I was in school. And I don't know that my parents had that same experience, or their parents, I feel like this was a groundbreaking attempt to tell that story of such an ugly part of history. And I think any student who is invested in social studies should give it a watch. Also, there is a book. I didn't read the book. I I probably should. Heard of a van that's loaded with weapons, packed up and ready to go. Heard of some gravesites out by the highway, a place where nobody knows. The sound of gunfire off in the distance, I'm getting used to it now. I've lived in brownstone, I've lived in the ghetto, I've lived all over this town. This ain't no party, this ain't no disco, this ain't no fooling around. No time for dancing or loving, I ain't got time for that now. Transmit the message to the receiver for an answer someday. Got 3 passports, a couple of visas, you don't even know my real name. High on a hillside, the trucks are loading, everything's ready to go. I sleep in the daytime, I work in the nighttime, I might not ever get home. This ain't no party, this ain't no disco, this ain't no fooling around. No, this ain't no nightclub or CBGB, I ain't got time for that now. Heard about Detroit, heard about Houston, heard about Pittsburgh, PA. You ought to know not to stand by the window, somebody see you up there. I got some groceries, some peanut butter, that'll last a couple of days. But I ain't got no speakers, ain't got no headphones, ain't got no records to play. Why stay in college? Why go to night school? Gonna be different this time. Why write a letter? Why send a postcard? I ain't got time for that now. Trouble transit, made through the roadblock, we blended in with the crowd. I got computers with tapping phone lines, I know that ain't allowed. We dress like students, we dress like housewives, or in a suit and a tie. I've changed my hairstyle so many times now, I don't know what I look like. You make me shiver, I feel so tender, we make a pretty good team. Don't get exhausted, I'll do some driving, you ought to get you some sleep. My chest is aching, burns like a furnace, like burning keeps me alive. Burned all my notebooks, what good are notebooks, they won't help me survive. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, jeez. This has been the hardest one for me to learn, and I screwed up a couple of times and whatever. Something about trying to remember where my hand should be on the guitar and what lyrics I should be singing is, I don't know why, but this is the hardest song for me to learn so far in this project. And I did it! I'm done! I can actually clean my house and turn it back into a house and not a recording studio, so that's exciting. Heck yeah. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone who has helped me along in this project. am emotionally drained.